Okay, so for subtraction, both of these polynomials are in brackets. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to remove the brackets of the first part of the expression. So we're going to remove these brackets, right? Nothing changes because there's nothing in front of that. The sign in front of this is positive, so nothing changes inside that bracket. So we're going to rewrite it as 5d squared minus 2d plus 11. That's the first step. When we subtract, think of this like multiplication. Think of this as there's a 1 here. You're actually doing -1. So a negative times a positive, then you're doing a negative times a positive, and then you're doing a negative times a positive. Let's review that for a second. Negative times a positive equals what? What's a negative times a positive? Negative. Positive times a negative equals? Positive times a positive equals? And a negative times a negative equals a positive. So we have a negative, we're subtracting. What happens to every single sign inside this bracket? What happens to every single sign? It changes. It becomes the opposite. It's always going to become the opposite when you're subtracting the polynomial, okay? So we're going to rewrite this without the bracket. So we have minus instead of plus 4d squared, and then instead of plus it's going to be minus 2d, and then instead of plus it's going to be minus 1. So step 1 is remove the brackets. That's the first thing you need to do, is remove the brackets. Again, when we're subtracting, the sign changes. When we're adding, the sign just stays the same. So first step is remove the brackets. What's the next step? What do I have to do next? We're combining like terms. And just to review, how do you know if two terms are alike? They must have the same what? Same variable and the same exponent. So I have a 5d squared. Would that be combined with something that just has a d? No. Again, I want you to copy this down, write it on the paper. Same variable and the same exponent. So 5d squared would go with minus 4d squared. You have to include the sign. Negative. Okay, so we're going to circle negative 2d, and what goes with negative 2d? The other negative 2d. Those are like terms. And finally, we have positive 11 and negative 1. So we're going to rewrite this with the like terms together. So we're going to write 5d squared minus 4d squared minus 2d minus 2d plus 11 minus 1. The reason I'm crossing them out is so that I make sure I've included everything, because you're just rearranging this. You're not getting rid of anything, you're just rearranging it. Now what? What's the next step? So this was step 1. Step 2. What's step 3? What do we do now? You are simplifying. So actually add or subtract in this case. So let's do it. What is 5 take away 4? 1. So it would be d squared. What is negative 2 take away 2? Negative 2 taking away 2 is, use a calculator if you're not sure, negative 4. Negative 2 take away 2 is negative 4, d. What is 11 take away 1? 11 take away 1? 10. Positive or negative 10? That's it. That's the answer. D squared take away 4d plus 10. First step is remove the brackets. So 2x plus 5, nothing changes. It's the first bracket. What happens to the second bracket? Changes the sign. So we have a positive 3. What does it become? What's the opposite of positive? Negative 3x. We have a positive 4. What does that become? Right? Because a negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a positive is a negative. You're basically multiplying this by -1. The sign changes because there's a negative in front of the bracket.
Plus 5. No. Yeah.
2x, and then what goes with 2x?
Plus 5.
-3x. Okay, so I've used those two, and then what are the other two like terms? John? Yep. Plus 5 and -4, not plus 4. Okay, simplify now. What's the final answer? What is 2x take away 3x? What's 2 take away 3? Negative x, or -1x. We'll just write negative x. What is 5 take away 4? Positive or -1?
Positive.
That's it. That's your final answer.